Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Money Talks. I am your host, Bill Barhydt, and I'm hoping that the sound is cooperating today. I'm in a hotel room in Los Angeles, and I'm not 100% certain if the sound is cooperating, but I think it is. I think we're good. We're streaming on YouTube, Facebook. It's a little bit of a funky setup today because I'm traveling. I don't have my normal great studio, but I think we're good. And I see questions coming in on YouTube. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Money Talks. I'm your host, Bill Barhydt. We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about what's happening with Bitcoin. We're going to talk about what's happening with Ethereum. We're going to talk about Abra's new Borrow product, what's happening with our Earn product. I'm getting a lot of questions on interest rates, so we'll talk about that. So much to talk about. We're talking about ETFs, right? Altcoins on fire. So we'll talk some about altcoins. And a lot of questions I'm getting from people, hey, should I be buying the dip? Meaning, should I be waiting for a fallback in price? But what happens like the last couple of weeks when there really wasn't a significant fallback in price? What do I do, right? And so we'll talk about dollar cost averaging and what that means and how you can take advantage of that, right? So keep the questions coming, and we'll get to them very quickly. And so let's see. We got people here. There's a little bit of background noise. I apologize for that. I think that's because of the fan on the laptop. Hopefully that'll die down. Let's see. I've got some. Maybe I'll take a couple of questions and then I'll get into the kind of commentary. Let's see. I've got some questions on Twitter as well. We're going live on Twitter, by the way, and Facebook in addition to YouTube. Most of you are on YouTube this morning, but yeah. One question about this question comes up all the time. Do I use a hardware wallet with Abra? Are my funds safe with Abra? So let's talk about that now and address that topic. So the thing about a hardware wallet is that you're in control of your own keys, right? There's this mantra in crypto, not your keys, not your money. I'm sure you've all heard this many times. And that's true on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's very complicated, right? I actually met a friend who had a lot of money in a hardware wallet and forgot how she got it on there in the first place and didn't know how to get it off. And by the time we got it out, it took us about an hour and a half, and it was very frustrating for both of us. So a hardware wallet is not necessarily a bad solution, but it's not for everyone. It's very technologically complicated. There's a lot of steps involved. You can't lose the hardware device. So you're taking a lot of personal responsibility, and that's okay, but you have to understand what you're getting yourself into. So with Abra and a wallet like Abra, you are trusting Abra, of course, because you're holding your cryptocurrency and your dollars with Abra. On the other hand, right, you know that if you've been using Abra for a while, I have all of my cryptocurrency. I'm irresponsibly long Bitcoin, and I have all of my crypto on Abra. I trust Abra as a quality solution, and I know that if I lose my phone and I have my backup phrase, or even if worst case, if I have to send IDs to Abra, that I can probably get access to my crypto again without as much hassle as if I lose my hardware wallet, for example. So it's just a different way of looking at managing your crypto. Personally, I don't think that the average person is in a position to manage their own cryptocurrency on a hardware wallet today. I think it's an evolution. I think people are better off starting out with a custodied solution like Abra and then evolving into other solutions. Okay. So before we get into the price, there's some interesting news this week on the ETF front, right? So we're seeing lots of ETF filings. Probably the most interesting thing that I've seen is that Fidelity is now participating in one of these new ETF filings. For those of you outside the US who aren't clear, an ETF is an exchange traded fund, and that basically allows you to buy Bitcoin in this case, or gold, or any other asset as a stock as part of your portfolio. And so that's interesting insofar that it makes it easier for a lot of people who wouldn't go to a service like Abra potentially, or another exchange, to buy Bitcoin, to potentially buy it the same way they would buy their stocks. Now, I'm not a big fan of buying Bitcoin through an ETF, but it's actually really bullish for the space, because the more ways we have to buy Bitcoin, the better it is for Bitcoin. And the reason I'm not so bullish on it, is that one, stock markets are closed way more than they're open, right? So that doesn't really make sense when Bitcoin trades 24/7, 7 days a week, right? So I see people all the time in Abra, especially like now, when it looks like we're pushing all-time highs, buying in, and it's a Saturday morning here in Los Angeles. So you can't do that with an ETF when the markets are closed. So that to me is a big difference. And now, like I said, it's still super bullish for the space. But on the other hand, I still prefer a service like Abra for buying Bitcoin. So anyway, let's see what happens when the ETF comes. But right now, I think the so-called tailwinds pushing Bitcoin forward are very, very strong. The other announcement we saw last week is from PayPal. PayPal announced that they're going to allow people to use Bitcoin for payments at the point of sale. Now, again, I don't think that a lot of people are going to do this. I think most of you right now don't want to spend your Bitcoin, right? You want to basically hold it and use it as digital gold, as an investment. But on the other hand, they have 100 million users, and so this is very bullish for the crypto space. So kudos to PayPal for trying to push the space forward, right? Everything that creates more tailwinds for Bitcoin to be propelled forward is going to be interesting for Bitcoin. All right, so let's take a look at where we are with Bitcoin and some of the altcoins. Let me bring up my charts here, so hopefully this will work. All right, so what you're looking at here is the daily price chart for Bitcoin over, let's say, the last four months or so. You can see, let me see if I can straighten this out. You see we've been in a rising chart pattern, pretty healthy. And right now we're right at this orange line, by the way, is roughly the stock to flow predicted price for Bitcoin. So if you actually buy into the idea that there's a predictable price for Bitcoin during this run up based upon its stock to flow. For those of you who don't remember, stock to flow basically is a measure of the relative hardness of an asset like gold or silver or oil or Bitcoin. It basically tells you for the existing supply of gold or the existing supply of Bitcoin, how long will it take to duplicate that supply? As the new supply of Bitcoin decreases, the stock to flow increases so that it will take even longer to reproduce the existing supply, and eventually the stock to flow for Bitcoin becomes infinite, because there's no new Bitcoin being created. That's why we refer to Bitcoin as the hardest money ever created, because it has a predictable scarcity, a predictable supply over time. Even gold is not guaranteed scarce. We always find new gold, right? So over time, you can see if this stock to flow holds right here, out here in May, it's got a price of about 70,000. Out here in June, it starts to get up to about 80,000. So look, there's no guarantees, of course, but the stock to flow price is really holding. Look at this line, and we've been touching this line pretty much non-stop since the most recent run-up started. Now the purple lines represent the pullbacks that we've been having or that were predicted via the 2017 run-up. So you remember, maybe I have that image available, during the 2017 run-up, we had multiple pullbacks. Here it is, right? So you see here on this chart, this is the run-up to about 20,000 for Bitcoin. I show you guys this all the time. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, actually 7 pullbacks of up to 30 to 40% during the 2017 run-up. And so every time there's one of these 20 to 30% pullbacks, you know, all of the mainstream media, Bitcoin is dead, Bitcoin investors are in trouble, you know, why would you hold Bitcoin? Well, when you have a new asset that is transitioning to be the world's reserve asset, to being digital gold, you're going to get this volatility. That's the price that we pay. The benefit we get for dealing with this volatility is the fact that the price is skyrocketing, right? So going back to now today's model, right, we see this is the same pullback, right? So this purple line represents a 30% pullback from the top. So let me stop moving this, apologize, and go back to the browser. So if I'm up here, right, so here is the top of about 58,000, right? Here is the top of about 62,000. We didn't even reach a 30% new high, right, versus the bottom of the channel. So here in late January, we actually did pull back 30%. Here we reached 58,000. We actually didn't have a 35 or 30% pullback. We had like a 20 to 25% pullback. When we went to 62,000 recently, the low was 50,000. Now that's barely a 15% or 17% pullback. So right now volatility has been unwinding in this run-up, and we're actually in a bit of a range. Right, you see my mouse moving here in this range where we've been touching the current price point for multiple days now, even multiple weeks. So Bitcoin is actually consolidating around the stock to flow price the last few days. This is not going to last. This is like a rubber band winding up. We may get a pullback. We may go higher. Look, this channel tells me that as long as we stay in this range on the run up, which is a pretty wide range and it gets wider as we go, we're okay, right? This is what we want to see happen. Let's take a look at Ethereum now. Wow, so yesterday we hit a new all-time high of about 2150-ish, 2144 to be exact. We've pulled back a little bit since then. Ethereum is looking super bullish. Sorry, I got off of Ethereum there. Back to Ethereum. So Ethereum is looking super bullish right now. I suspect, to me, Ethereum acts as a bit of a lever on Bitcoin, meaning that when Bitcoin moves, Ethereum moves even more, both to the upside and the downside. And yeah, so it's pretty awesome. By the way, Alan asks how much Bitcoin is in circulation right now. We're on the path to 21 million Bitcoin. I believe we're at about a little under 19 million. I'll check the exact number and then post it here. But I believe we're at 19 million. So let me just answer a couple of other questions, and then I want to talk about some of the altcoins. So before I get on to Abra and let's see. So I will talk a little bit about the hour, daily, weekly. So Pluto, we'll get back to that in a minute. And so Frank, unfortunately, New York is the one state that we do not support. Let's see. Let me get to some other questions. If you have customer service issues, because it's Saturday morning, we're probably not going to have live CS on the line like we sometimes do. Just send an email to support@abra.com, and we'll publish the address here so people can see it. So if somebody on the team could just put that on there. Yeah, just there you go. So put the email out there, and that's where you should mostly direct your own kind of account-specific questions. If you have generic questions about crypto, about how Abra works, Abra Earn, Abrabarro, trade, we'll get to all of that here. If you have issues with deposits, we've had some issues the last few weeks in the Philippines with deposits. That's all working now. But if you have an issue that hasn't been resolved yet, please send an email to support. This is a holiday weekend, so I apologize that things may be a little slower this weekend. This is obviously, we have the holidays. Yesterday was Good Friday, so things might be a little bit slower. Let's see what else. Let's see. All right, so payment options. How do I deposit money into Abra in my country? All right, so, and also I've got some questions about, can I use Abra in the UK? How do I deposit in the Philippines, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm gonna get to all of that. So let me talk about the UK first. So we do support Faster Pay in the UK. So I'll show you how very quickly. If you go to, first of all, download Abra, right? That's how you get started. And then what you do is, in the app, you can actually go to deposit crypto, and you'll get a deposit address to deposit, let's say, Bitcoin. Then you go to abra.com, right? And you see here at the top of the screen, you can actually buy Bitcoin directly from abra.com. If you change your country, right, to be, I believe it's, let's say, GB for the UK, right? You can actually buy in pounds a certain number of Bitcoin, right? I'm gonna type in 200, and you'll be able to use Faster Pay directly from the Abra website. Let me bring that up. So this is the Abra website, and over here on the top of the site, you can actually choose the country, and it's actually going to show you that you can use Faster Pay, by clicking on your bank account down here, right? Or Apple Pay even, right? So if I click on MoonPay, I can actually use Faster Pay. I paste in that address from the Abra app. It'll let me use Faster Pay, and the Bitcoin will actually show up directly in my Abra app. Now this works all over the world. So if you're using Abra in Australia, if you're using Abra in Canada, if you're using Abra in India, you'll be able to use your bank account from the Abra website to deposit money or crypto directly into Abra. It's super cool. And a lot of people are using it now. Thanks for the support on that. We put a lot of work into this. It's kind of a big test for us. We're trying to see which countries and which banks people are interested in using. So we really rolled them all out into this website that allow people from all over the world to deposit into their Abra app. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Again, so you download the Abra app, you go to abra.com, you paste in the deposit address from Abra, and you choose your bank account in the UK or Australia or Canada in particular, India. We even support certain cash networks in Australia, for example. And then it'll give you instructions to how to complete the Faster Pay transaction. And then in a few minutes, you'll have your Bitcoin. It also supports credit cards. It supports Apple Pay now, and a whole bunch of other cool payment options. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. All right, so let's talk about Abrabarro. So we've got a new product that we just launched. It's called Abrabarro, and Abrabarro lets you borrow against your Bitcoin holdings. This is super cool. We've been working on this for a year. It's live in 50 countries and 35 US states, or actually maybe 36, so there's more coming. This is a regulated business lending, so we have to get licenses in certain US states. That's a work in progress, and as those licenses come on, we'll be turning on more states. So and the way Abrabarro works is that you're going to give Abra Bitcoin or Ethereum as collateral, and you'll be able to take out a Bitcoin loan. So I'm going to go to, let's say, we'll go back to abra.com here, and you'll see the details. Sorry, I'm running the show myself today, so be a little slow. So here you can borrow USD, all right? You set the terms, right? So in the app, you basically choose, right, the number of months that you want for the loan, right? So, excuse me, do you want to borrow for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months? And then it will show you for the chosen collateral rate, it will actually show you how much interest you would pay. Then once you deposit your collateral, your loan will be funded into your trading account as TrueUSD or whatever stablecoin you choose, and you can actually wire the money to your bank from anywhere in the world, right? Any country in the world, you can wire the money to your bank, or you can withdraw the stablecoin if you want to another service. It's up to you. And then you simply make the interest payments according to the schedule that you see in the Abra app, and you can wire the money in. You can also use the abra.com site to deposit stablecoins into the app the way I just showed you and make the monthly payments. It's super cool. Why would you want to do this? Why would you want to borrow against your Bitcoin? Well, it's very simple, right? It's very, very simple. So I, for example, have a lot of Bitcoin, right? I'm very long Bitcoin. I'm also long Ethereum. I don't want to sell it. I have no interest in selling my Bitcoin anytime soon, right? But it's gone up a lot over the years. So maybe I want to use some of those gains to get a down payment on a house, or to buy a car, or to help pay for college, right? Or to go shopping. Or maybe I want to buy a little bit more Bitcoin and I don't want to sell the Bitcoin I have. And so this allows you to make those purchases, first of all, without selling, so you continue to get the benefit of all the gains that you're getting in the product, which is super cool, of course. And second, you can do it without necessarily paying taxes, because this is not a sell. You're not actually getting capital gains. You're simply borrowing money, which alone is not taxable income. So this is a great way to get the benefit of the gains and push the tax obligation down the road to the future when you sell the Bitcoin. So hopefully that makes sense. So we've had a lot of people start to take out loans already last week. We've seen millions in collateral coming in. That's fantastic. We're very grateful. Thank you for that. We're glad you love the product. So now we have Abra Trade, Abra Earn, and Abrabarro. And so all I'll say is you see Abra Trade, Abra Earn, Abrabarro down here at the bottom of the screen. There's a little bit of room for another icon down there. I wonder what that might be. We'll see in the coming months. So we're moving down the path of becoming a full, let's say, crypto bank. We want to be people's one-stop shop for trade, earning interest and yield, borrowing, and hopefully paying in the future. So we'll talk about that in the coming weeks. But for now, Abrabarro is live in over 50 countries, 35 US states. Check it out. Super cool. I've used it. I've got a lot of friends who've used it. Everybody that has had the experience said it's awesome. It was really designed, just like every other Abra product, to be super easy to use. Okay. All right. Let me check on some of our questions here. Does the collateral continue to earn interest? The collateral itself does not earn interest, but it's your Bitcoin, it's your Ethereum, so you're getting the price benefit of that Bitcoin. So in other words, if you're holding Bitcoin as collateral and it goes up, you're getting the benefit of those gains. Okay. Let's see. When will Monero, Zcash, and Dash be added again on Abra? So Philip, I honestly don't know. This is very infuriating to me that the privacy coins are not available on Abra today. This is something that we want to do. but it's not up to us. The custodians that we use for trading are unfortunately not supporting privacy coins in the US. I hope this changes soon. I don't like the decision. I don't agree with the decision. And so hopefully they will change their stance on this. Otherwise, maybe Abra can change service providers in the future for some of the liquidity that we use. But in the meantime, this is what we're stuck with. So let me see. So I've got some other questions here. Thank you. I've got some questions here on Twitter for Abrabarro. What cryptocurrencies do you support as collateral for Abrabarro? So we support Bitcoin and Ethereum as collateral, and we may add more cryptocurrencies in the future. But honestly, these are the currencies that the cryptocurrencies, I should say, that the vast majority of people are holding. So it's not really a problem. So let's see what else. So got some more questions here. Will Abra give XYM to XEM holders? April, I have actually no idea what XYM is, so I'm not up to speed on that. I'm going to have to look into that. I think the best thing to do there is send an email to support@abra.com, and we'll get back to you there on that. Let's see. When will Abra offer leverage trading? So Tristan, Abra is not an exchange or a site that focuses on leverage trading, but with the Abrabarro product, if you want to enter into a certain amount of leverage, you can do that now. So you can deposit your Bitcoin, deposit your Ethereum into Abra, you can borrow against it, and you can actually buy a little bit more Bitcoin or a little bit more Ethereum. So you've actually entered effectively into a leverage position for yourself. In other words, you've borrowed money to buy more Bitcoin. That's a lever. Now, I strongly encourage you to do this very responsibly. What you don't want to do is over leverage yourself to the point where you can't afford to pay back if there's a pullback in the market. So use the lever responsibly, but it's there. You can actually borrow against the Bitcoin now. Is Abra rolling out additional payment options in the Philippines? Yes, we will be rolling out additional payment options in the Philippines. It's one of our most popular markets. We've got a lot of users in the US, the UK, Philippines, Canada, and we're constantly looking at how to add more payment options in these countries. It takes time. And another person asked, can we use Bitcoin and Ethereum at the same time as collateral? So the answer is yes, but you have to take out 2 different loans. And you can have multiple loans at the same time as long as you have enough collateral. So first take out a Bitcoin collateralized loan, right? In other words, take out a loan and use, let's say you're taking out $1,000 loan and you want to use $2,000 as collateral. Do that first, and then take out a second loan using the Ethereum as collateral. So I hope that makes sense, right? So they're 2 different loans, but you've used both the Bitcoin and Ethereum as collateral. I hope that makes sense. So yes. So there's that. Let's see. Sorry for that. So we've got some other questions here. All right, so can you talk about the rates on Abra Earn? All right, so let's switch topics for a moment and let's talk about Abra Earn. So, we have, of course, Abra Earn is by far our most popular product. It causes a lot of people to deposit into Abra. With Abra Earn, you can earn up to 10% on stable coins. You can earn up to 5.25% on Ethereum. I think the Bitcoin rate is at about 4.5% and holding steady. Now, let me talk about rate setting, because some of our competitors have actually lowered rates significantly the last few weeks, and Abra has not. So this question I've gotten 17 times today already. Is Abra planning to lower interest rates? No, we're not. We haven't lowered the Bitcoin rate ever in the Abra Earn product. Now, that's not to say we would never do it. Obviously, we have to be responsible versus the lending rates. So if the lending rates come down significantly, we might be forced to lower the Bitcoin rate. But right now, we have no plans to do that. We have no plans to lower the dollar rate. Right, the dollar rate of 10% is very strong. It's one of the best in the business. Our Bitcoin rate of 4.5 is definitely one of the best rates out there right now. Others have been lowering rates, right? And our Ethereum rate of 5.25% is also one of the best out there. So the process is very simple. You deposit your crypto into Abra, you move the crypto into the Abra Earn account, and you immediately start earning interest. If you're depositing from your bank account, you simply wire the money into Abra, and you can do a bank wire from anywhere in the world, right? We support unlimited bank wires from any country. You can also go to abra.com, as I showed you earlier, and use Faster Pay, Interac in Canada. You can use a whole bunch of different payment types in Australia, even India, and deposit money into Abra, move it over to the Earn account, and you're immediately earning interest. So I hope that makes sense. Hope that answers your question. Again, thank you for the support of Abra Earn. It's been by far the most popular service and product in the Abra ecosystem. And of course, trading is still super popular, but Abra Earn is growing even faster than our trading product. Let me talk about altcoins for a few minutes. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about altcoins. So I'm going to go back to my trusty chart here. And boom. So, all right, so let's talk about a few of my favorite alts. All right, so let's start with Wax. Got to talk about Wax. Let's see if I can find it. Wax P, here we go. So this is one of my favorites. Why is Bill constantly talking about Wax? Well, I'm constantly talking about Wax because Wax is on a tear. Right, so from March, actually, if I go back to mid-February to now, Wax has basically gone from, let's say, about 5 cents to about 28 cents at it was an all-time high of about 34. Seems to be consolidating a little bit right now. Why is Wax getting so much attention? NFTs. What are NFTs? Well, if you remember, from a few weeks ago, we talked about the Kings of Leon NFT, where Abra was actually used to finance the purchase of the NFT, non-fungible token, digital collectibles, digital art. Now, most people associate NFTs with Ethereum, but Ethereum is not the only platform used to create NFTs. Turns out that almost 40 to 50% on some days of the NFTs by sales volume are being deployed on Wax, right? And Wax, of course, is getting a benefit of this in terms of its price run up. Now, Ethereum is still getting the majority of the NFT volume, but Wax is coming on strong, and that is fantastic. As I say constantly in these shows, the best thing about altcoins to me is technology competition. It pushes Ethereum to go faster. It pushes Bitcoin Core not as much, but it pushes the ecosystem forward and motivates those development teams to push the envelope. And I love that, right? Right. We're very early days in the crypto world, right? And it's this competition that really pushes things forward. So a couple of other things of note. We added DOT. Polkadot is now in the Abra app, been on a tear. By the way, it's available for users outside the US right now, so I apologize to US users. We hope to get it live in the US soon, but DOT is now available in the app. Also been on an absolute tear. We see down here earlier in the year it was about 9 to 10 and is now trading in the 44 range. Absolute tear. This is interesting. Okay, I have to talk about this. All right, so our brothers at FTX outside the US have this index of altcoins, and they call it's a futures contract that you can buy, but it basically tracks what's happening in the altcoin space. They affectionately call it the shitcoin perpetual futures index. Now, haha, well, I don't really like the name very much as somebody who believes in altcoins. It is really a good indication of what's happening in the space. And earlier this year, it was at about 1,400. Now it is at 8,600. This is a 6x run up in about 3 months. That is crazy. All right. So altcoins, anybody who tells you altcoins aren't on fire, altcoins by and large are vastly outperforming Bitcoin right now. Now, I've said this to you multiple times, and I'm going to say it again. Be very careful with altcoins. Only actively trade and get out when you're comfortable. There's very few alts that I hold long term. I am holding some wax right now because I'm very bullish on the NFT space, and I am holding some comp and link. Let's talk about Link as well. Let's remind ourselves what Chainlink is. Link is in a bit of a holding pattern. It basically went from 12 to about 30 as well this year. Another nice run up. You can see here it's going a little sideways right now. Not sure if it's going to break out up here, but on the daily it's looking towards its move, like it wants to hit all-time highs. I think if Ethereum pushes higher, it could take Link with it even faster. Why am I bullish on Link? Let's talk about Link for a second. So Chainlink is basically giving us the ability to have a really solid Oracle solution for smart contracts. If you're familiar with what a smart contract is, basically it's an Ethereum or Wax or maybe a DOT-based software product that allows you to execute software code directly on the internet without a central computer, which is why we refer to Ethereum as the world's computer sometimes. The problem with these smart contracts is they don't easily know anything about the outside world. So let's say my contract needs to know about the price of Apple shares, or it needs to know about the weather outside because I'm a farmer, or it needs to know my age for an insurance contract. Where do I get that information from? Because I don't know anything about the outside world, right? Blockchains and these layer one protocols, they're kind of like being in the matrix. When you're inside the matrix, you don't know about the rest of the world, right? So what an Oracle does is it gives us information from the physical world that we need to make decisions in the virtual world inside of a smart contract. And Chainlink is trying to be the preferred means for having oracles inside of smart contracts. So they're solving actually potentially a really big problem in the crypto space. Okay, let's talk about Grayscale for a moment. Now, Grayscale, the Bitcoin trust, is another way to buy Bitcoin. And I get asked this question as a matter of fact, there's some questions on the Facebook feed here. Why is Grayscale trading at a discount to Bitcoin? Let me explain what that means first, and then I'll explain why it's trading at a discount. Think of Grayscale kind of like an ETF a little bit, in that they're actually traded on certain stock markets, right? It's not exactly an ETF. It works a little bit differently. It's a trust. It's not an ETF. It's not a fund in the sense of an ETF, but it's a fund in the sense of a trust. They work differently. Doesn't matter. The difference being here that the market decides what the price of the stocks underlying that Bitcoin is, regardless of the price movement of Bitcoin. Now, it makes sense that if they're holding a certain amount of Bitcoin and the price of Bitcoin is going up, that the trust should also go up as well. But that is not always the case. Now, last year, because Grayscale was pretty much the only way to buy Bitcoin on a stock market, right? It was getting a huge premium in price, meaning there was a big run up in price. That is no longer the case. It turns out that there is a discount right now, meaning that for every $100 worth of Bitcoin in Grayscale, right? Grayscale is right now is only worth about $90. So I've been saying this for months, right? That buying Bitcoin through Grayscale is not the best way for most people to invest in Bitcoin. If you have an IRA in the United States, or 401k, and you want to direct some to Grayscale, that's fine. I get it. There's tax issues with that. But for most of you, don't do it. It's not worth it. right? And now you saw that the discount got up to 14%. That means your stock in Grayscale was worth 14% less than the underlying Bitcoin. You don't want to be taking that risk. It's not worth it. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Let's see, what else can we talk about here? We've got some big runners. EOS was on fire this week. Look at this. So EOS, which has been, you know, I would say on a tear, but not as much of a tear as some of the other alts, now has gone from $2.50 to about $6 and change. So a lot of bullish movement on EOS this week. Really interesting. Our friends at BNB. So I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our friends at BNB. I've always been a fan. Let's look at this from low 20s late last year to 345. Probably the best performing cryptocurrency asset in the world right now is BNB, which is the exchange token for our friends at Binance. Love CZ and our friends over there. So congrats to all those holders. Just incredible. Let's see. We've got. Let's go back. I've got some questions. What do I think that Bitcoin is going to pull back before going to all-time highs? Now, obviously, I have no way of knowing that because we're in the middle of this channel here, right at the stock to flow price, right? That makes it very difficult to predict. Now, let's get back to this idea of what do I do if there's no pullbacks and I'm looking to buy Bitcoin, right? Very common problem in the Bitcoin space. What do I do if there's no pullbacks? Okay, so what you do is very simple. You do what we call dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging is the safest way to buy Bitcoin over time. It's actually the safest way to buy any tradable asset over time if you're worried about volatility. So in other words, if you start buying Bitcoin via dollar cost averaging over here in, let's say in February 25th, Bitcoin is trading at about 48,000. I start dollar cost averaging in by buying $1,000 a week. So the first week I buy at 48, the next week I buy over here at 51, right? I buy over here at 54, but I also buy over here at 51 when the price falls back again, right? So yeah, the price is going up, but I'm basically buying at the dips and the peaks. And so it's averaging out over time. That's why we call it dollar cost averaging. So if Bitcoin ends up having huge runs to the top of the channel, but also to the bottom of the channel, that will smooth out your purchases over time. So in other words, if you want to buy, let's say $20,000 worth of Bitcoin today, but you're afraid of a pullback and you're not sure what to do, start dollar cost averaging in now. So you could do it, let's say, over 30 days. You could divide the $20,000 purchase by 30. So maybe you'll buy like $660 per day in Bitcoin, which equals about $20,000 worth of Bitcoin over time. So that could be a good way to do it. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, so again, dollar cost averaging via Abra is super easy. If you're in the US, you can use ACH. You could also bank wire in $20,000 in one shot and just buy in $600 or to $700 or $800 increments on a daily or weekly basis as you're comfortable using the trade function in the app. You just press trade. You say, I'm going to buy $700 worth of Bitcoin today, and then tomorrow you do another 700 and then another 700, and then 30 days later, you've bought 20,000 worth of Bitcoin, but you've done it at an average price over the 30 days. That will smooth out the volatility that you're paying over that 30 days. I'll try to create some charts for dollar cost averaging to show you the benefit of doing it that way. Now, I don't do it that way because I'm comfortable with Bitcoin's volatility, but I get this question all the time. I have friends all the time that say, I'm waiting for a pullback. That's silly because you might not get a pullback. The better way to do it, if you're insistent upon waiting, is start to dollar cost average now. I hope that makes sense. If you have questions on dollar cost averaging, or if what I'm not saying makes sense, just hit me up in the channel here and I'll talk about it some more. Let me go back to my notes, make sure we're getting to everything today. Seems like it's pretty good. The questions are really good today. Thanks, keep them coming. Taxes. You said you were going to talk about taxes. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. So this is a bit of a US centric perspective on taxes, since I'm obviously an American. I have lived in Europe. Basically, the taxes consequences are the same. Bitcoin is property. If you're in the US or in Europe, most countries, Australia, Bitcoin is property. What does that mean? If you buy the property for $100 and you hold it, and the price goes up to $100,000 and you don't sell it, you don't have immediate tax consequences. Now, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a tax attorney. I'm giving you my basic understanding. You should always seek tax advice. And as a matter of fact, if you go back to our last blog newsletter, we had a link to a tax provider for crypto that we're working with, and we'll put it in Monday's newsletter as well. You'll actually get a discount on the tax services. Now, if you have $100 worth of Bitcoin and it ends up being 100,000, at some point, if you sell that Bitcoin, you are going to have to pay taxes on the difference, meaning how much money you've made on that property, just like when you sell a house. Now, and there are rollover rules that may apply in your country, but you have to talk to a tax accountant and attorney to understand what may or may not apply. Like in the US, by and large, there are no rollover options with Bitcoin. If you own Bitcoin and you sell it and you have a profit, you have taxes. If you sell it at a loss, you might get a benefit of the loss versus other income. It's that simple, okay? Pay your taxes, please. I don't like it, but I pay it. That's the way it goes. So in the Abra app, if I go back to the app here, there is the ability, if you click on the Abra man at the top, the logo at the top, it will give you your history of all the trades you've done and all the interest you've made. You can download that as a CSV file for Excel or Google Sheets, and you can import it into your tax program, and it should help you to be able to pay the taxes. If you bought the Bitcoin outside of Abra and deposited in Abra, we actually don't know what you paid for it. So we're not going to be able to tell you what your earnings are because we don't know where you bought the Bitcoin. So I hope that makes sense. If you bought the Bitcoin in Abra and sold it in Abra, it's obviously very easy. You'll see the buy price and the sell price in Abra. But if you bought the Bitcoin somewhere else, deposited it in Abra to earn interest, and then sell the Bitcoin later, you're going to have to go back to the place you bought it, hopefully have those records to determine what you paid for it. So keep all this in mind. It's not as complicated or as daunting as it sounds. You just have to keep records of what you're doing. And as long as you do that, you should be fine. Don't sweat it so much, and life will be fine, okay? Hakuna Matata, as they say. All right, we're going to enjoy our weekend in a few minutes anyway. So speaking of enjoying our weekends, let's go back to some fun alts here to close out the morning. Let's see. So I mentioned Link, super bullish. I mentioned the altcoin index, a Digibyte. So let's take a look at Digibyte. I hold Digibyte. I'm a huge fan. Thanks to the supporters in the community. All right, so we had a cup and a handle on Digibyte. What's a cup and handle? So a cup and handle, so you see this little U here. Hopefully you can see that. Let me make sure I'm showing the chart. Yeah, so you see this little cup here. I don't know if you can see my mouse. I'll draw it here on the screen. So there's the cup, and then here's the handle. Now, after a cup and handle, you want to look for a breakout. We didn't quite have a full breakout because we're not totally above this all-time high, but it looks like we're heading in that direction. This is really bullish. If you get a breakout from a handle, that means that, you know, anyway, it's traditionally, I'm not going to do technical analysis definitions on Money Talks, but it's very bullish. See here, even on TradeView, it's telling us the indicators are showing a super strong buy. I am really bullish on Digibyte right now. I think it's going to be a top performing cryptocurrency for the next. I'm also really bullish on the technology underlying Digibyte. I tend to really look at the tech, and I'm bullish on the technology for Digibyte. So Wax and Digibyte, Link, those are cryptos that I'm particularly excited about the projects, not just the price movement. Of course, I'm excited by the profits, but there's a reason, in my opinion, as to why these cryptocurrency assets are performing so well. And I'm really happy for the supporters and the communities that that basically support those cryptocurrencies. Without you, we wouldn't have the competition in the space that is advancing the space at such a fast rate. So thanks for that. We've got a bunch more questions here, and any plans to add recurring buys? Yes, finally we're going to be adding recurring buys, and I don't know the exact date. It shouldn't be that much longer. I don't have an exact date, as I said, but we are going to be adding recurring buys. So if you want to dollar cost average in, today you have to do each purchase yourself, but soon you'll be able to set it up with a couple of clicks where Abra does the purchase for you. This is going to be a US specific feature at first because of the way ACH holds. Because of the way ACH works, but eventually we'll be adding it for other countries as well. Let's see. Robert, in order to earn interest, the cryptos have to be in the Abra Earn account. There's no other way to do it. Okay, so you have to move the crypto into Abra Earn in order to earn interest. Orden asks, when will the Algorand maintenance be completed? I have no idea. It's not Abra that's doing that. It is our Custodia partner, Bittrex. I don't have, anyway, so I don't have any insights as to when. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, what are your thoughts on Cardano? Oh my God, I forgot Cardano. How could I do that? I love Cardano. So let's go over back to our browser, go back to Cardano ADA. Here we go. Now, from late last year, where Cardano was at about 15 cents to the recent high of about $1.40, it was one of the best performing crypto assets, period. That was about a 10x run. It looks like it's in a pretty bullish consolidation pattern right now. On lower volume. You actually see the bottom bar here is volume. When it's consolidating like this, we actually want to see volume come down. That's a good thing. That tells us that the consolidation is almost done because volume is not going to go to zero. I think this is looking like it wants to break out to the upside, which means we could easily see, $2 and then $3 Cardano. I would not be surprised if we saw $5-6 Cardano. So to the question, do I think we're going to see $7 Cardano? I have no idea. Personally, I would not be surprised based upon the adoption, the interest in the crypto, the technicals that I'm seeing here on the charts, all pointing to be very bullish for Cardano. Okay. All right. So enough on alts. Super bullish. Thanks for the support of everyone at Abra on the altcoins. I think I have a couple more questions and then we'll call it a day. Thanks for the questions. Keep them coming. I've got one question here from Lamesh. How's it going, Lamesh? Lamesh asks, if the Bitcoin Trust is trading at a discount versus the underlying Bitcoin, isn't that a clear arbitrage opportunity? Why aren't people going crazy? Lamesh, it's not an arbitrage opportunity in the sense that you don't know what's going to happen, meaning the discount could go more negative or it could go positive. So people have been referring to this GBTC as an ARB play. It's not an ARB play. You can take a risk that the premium will stay a premium, right? And try to play that trade by effectively going long GBTC, shorting Bitcoin, and taking the premium. But if the premium goes or the discount goes negative, as it has, you actually end up losing money. So there is no free lunch. And as they say, this is speculation, and that's not why we're here. We're here to basically trade crypto. So I actually am not bullish on GDPC right now, and would encourage everyone to stay away. That's my opinion. What are my thoughts on Litecoin? So Stanford, I love Litecoin. Litecoin has always been kind of like the silver to Bitcoin's gold. Okay, I'll go back one more time. You convinced me. I'll go back one more time to the charts before we call it a day, and we'll talk about Litecoin. Let's go. Here we go. LTC. Where is it on my charts? There it is. All right. So Litecoin is also in a kind of a winding down consolidation pattern, right? So it had a nice run up from last year. It went from mid 50s to about 200, so a nice 4x run. Similar to Bitcoin, a little bit less, but it seems to be winding down in this pennant consolidation pattern, which looks like it could go on until the end of April to somewhere. I'd look for somewhere in the 190 to 195 range for a consolidation. If at that point it goes into the 200s, I'd be buying, right? That would be super bullish to me. Meaning if it consolidates to around 190 or so at the end of April and then explodes to the upside, that to me tells me that we could easily see 300-400 Litecoin. So that's what I would be looking for. I'm kind of neutral on it right now, meaning I would wait for confirmation. And if I get a breakout above that 190 at the end of April on low volume towards 200 on high volume, I'm buying Litecoin. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So that is definitely my last tea leaf reading of alts for today. So thanks for your questions there. Love it. As you can tell, I'm a lover of crypto trading, so I'm happy to answer those questions. So let's see, a couple more questions on Abra and then we'll call it a day. So how does Abra generate interest? So we talk about this on every show. Let me talk about it really quick here, and it may take a little bit longer, so that might be the last question. So Abra pays 10% on dollars, pays 4.5% on Bitcoin in the Abra Earn product. We earn that interest by effectively lending out the Bitcoin doing collateralized loans, just like we do for consumers in the Abra Earn product, where you're giving us collateral that protects your deposits. Because if you deposit dollars and I'm lending that out to consumers, your deposits have been protected because the consumer is giving us collateral in the form of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Well, it turns out so are businesses. So we lend out to institutions who are also giving us collateral. It's a very responsible managed product where we do a lot of due diligence on the borrowers, and we determine collateral rates for borrowers on a case-by-case basis, unlike consumers where it's just determined by the app. And so that creates a very kind of relatively safe environment. There's no free lunch, okay? I say this all the time. It's an investment. Every investment carries a certain amount of risk, but Abra is the safest way to earn 10% that I've ever seen in my life. That's why I use it. All of my dollars, my personal dollars, are in the Abra app. That's where I store my dollars. All of my liquid Bitcoin is in the Abra app earning interest. My favorite morning of the week, this is gonna sound sick to you, but I love Monday mornings. Bill's crazy. Nobody loves Monday. I love Monday mornings because at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Monday mornings, I get a bunch of text messages to my Abra app telling me how much interest I've earned on my Bitcoin, my Ethereum, my USDC, my True USD, whatever, my dollars, et cetera, et cetera. I love it, okay? And so I get so excited when I see that free Bitcoin coming in to my wallet, okay? And I trust it. I trust it because I helped design it. I know how it works. I know how the lending practices at Abra work. I know why Abra hasn't lowered rates while our competitors have lowered rates. And I trust that the Abra team that I helped hire knows what they're doing. And so, you know, everybody needs to do their own homework and ask questions. And that's why I come on Money Talks every month and why I'm on social media regularly answering questions. But ultimately you have to decide for yourself. For me, it's a safe product. You have to decide what works for you, okay? So we're gonna stop there, it's 9 o'clock. Thank you for the support. Thank you so much. The last few weeks have been amazing. Abra has become profitable. For those of you who don't know, we're on our 6th month of profitability now. The numbers have been up and to the right. We've gotten tens and tens of millions of dollars in new deposits. You know, our deposit volume on Abra Earn has been doubling every couple of months, pretty much like clockwork, thanks to you and your support. Yeah, so thanks so much. Keep the questions coming. If you want to ask questions on Twitter, on Facebook, just hit me up there. Bill Barhydt on Twitter. We'll post the Twitter handle on the chat session here at the end. And yeah, thanks again for the love and support for Abra. Keep telling your friends. Keep the love coming. We'll post the video on YouTube when we're done, so you can share it with with your friends. And yeah, have a great weekend, and hug somebody close. All right, take care, everybody. Thanks again for all of the support.